if Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, it was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, you'd be like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's fucking for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer.
Jake Paul, I mean, as long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's gonna continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter, a real fighter that can really fight, it's not gonna be that good.
He told me before his goal is to fight Canelo, so that's where his mindset's at.
He'd get up by Canelo. He'd get demolished.
Joe Rogan and Floyd Mayweather have not officially broken down Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua. But the entire combat sports community keeps speculating about what they would say if they actually did. People can already picture the intensity because this matchup is considered one of the most surprising, chaotic, and unpredictable fights boxing has ever witnessed. If Joe Rogan were sitting in the studio right now, he would probably repeat what millions of fans are thinking. He would call the matchup insane and insist that Jake Paul is stepping into true heavyweight territory by challenging a man who has knocked out massive opponents.
Yeah, I think WWE is good for Logan and Jake Paul, maybe? Easy. Too easy. It's too easy. Too easy. At 48, too easy.
But it sounds like AJ's going to fight Jake Paul. I mean, if he's true to his word, if he really wants the fight, I mean, it's all very well saying, what did he say? I'll knock it, he's got a weak chin.
Jake Paul just spoke to Oscar there and said, Anthony Joshua has a weak chin, I will knock him out.
Well, look, if he's true to his word, the fight will happen.
Next.
But whenever I know, but I can't believe, and it's great that Tyson Fury is saying that Jake Paul's going to win, and people, I mean, like, maybe I've just lost my mind. But if they truly want that fight, I reached out to Nikisa earlier. We're going to have a chat next week. If they truly want the fight, we can make actually the fight that does the biggest numbers in the sport. Forget Canelo Crawford. That doesn't even touch the surface of, and I can't believe I'm saying it, of AJ against Jake Paul.
But if I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. That automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on, like you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So it's just ludicrous. It really is.
Joe would analyze the speed gap, the size difference, the power disparity, and he would still repeat one point that always shapes these discussions. Anything can happen in a fight, and that is what makes this entire scenario so unpredictable. If Floyd Mayweather commented on it publicly, he would offer something even more intriguing. Floyd has consistently said Jake Paul earns respect because he promotes himself. He embraces risk, and he understands how to build a major fight.
Regret the Joshua fight not happening?
No, I don't. I don't regret anything. Life's too short for regrets.
What do you think of Jake Paul pulling him out?
I think it's a good fight. I think it's a real 50-50 fight.
I've got a problem with this one because Anthony Joshua is a two-time world champion. Jake Paul's a YouTuber and doesn't deserve the right to be in a ring with Anthony.
Well, don't buy the fight then.
It's dangerous. We saw what Anthony Joshua had done to Francis Ngannou. This is a fight.
I know, but what I'm saying
is going in there, their health is at risk.
But the only reason they
put someone in there in a ring.
I know, Jay.
And you say the only reason we're doing it is for money. That don't sit right with me.
Fine, then don't buy it.
Is Jake Paul at risk, and isn't everything about money? And who cares?
Of course he is, but that's what bothers me, right? If Anthony Joshua was to do what he done to Ngannou to Jake Paul, that's like life-changing injuries, potentially fatal. There's got to be some sort of contract being signed here, like, look, pull your punches a little bit, mate. If it was real, it'd be dangerous. But the annoying thing is people are going to go on about this as if it is real. And for me, it can't be.
Jake Paul he doesn't have to get in the ring with Anthony Joshua for $50 million. He's got $50 million. So for him to do this, get on the biggest stage in the world, which is Netflix, and fight a 2 times heavyweight world champion, you've got to have a big, giant set of balls, right? Now you might think, well, look, Anthony Joshua's 36 years old. He's past it. No, mate. Alexander Usyk, who's the world heavyweight champion, probably the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world at heavyweight, is 38 years old. If you look at history over time, a lot of heavyweights seem to prime as they get older. Now, a problem for Anthony Joshua is his activity. He's only fought twice in 2 years, and one of them he got knocked out off Daniel Dubois. That was his last fight, and a lot of people say you can only judge a fighter's quality from their last fight. And then the fight before that was a win, but it was a win against Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, if you know, he was the UFC heavyweight who's not a real boxer, and he only had one fight before that boxing fight, what he lost as well. So that's his activity in boxing. Now, Jake Paul, on the other hand, looking at his box rec, he's had 6 fights since 2023, and one of them was against Mike Tyson. But we all seen what happened in that fight. Mike Tyson was well past his prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, well, I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime, because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pound versus 252 pound. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had 1, where AJ's had 4.
Floyd may not view Jake Paul as an elite boxer, but he does see him as a serious student of the sport. Someone who trains with discipline, tries to genuinely improve, and is willing to face dangers that most fighters would never even consider. And stepping in against Anthony Joshua proves that. The boxing community is completely divided, with some saying Jake Paul is walking straight into a nightmare, and others saying he has unbelievable courage for signing the contract. It is the biggest gamble of his career, a fight that could change his life forever. Because if he even lasts a few rounds with Anthony Joshua, he earns a level of respect no social media figure has ever achieved in combat sports history.
And number-wise, the biggest fight in boxing history. Ever. Viewed. The biggest viewed fight in boxing history ever. And there's been some great fights over time. That is insane, isn't it? And the highest paid fighters as well. What Jake Paul, they're an estimated £170 million split between these two. But Jake Paul, is he really that deluded that he thinks he's going to go in there and beat Anthony Joshua?
Do you think he thinks he can do it, Simon? I don't know what he's not short in confidence.
I don't know what he thinks, but what he does do is he markets himself in the space that he operates in. I don't get this Jake Paul or Logan Paul phenomenon, but I'm not the audience. It doesn't matter what I get. The opportunity for Netflix is that it's a drive to subscribe. They'll pay $100 million, and the wraparound fees that come from sponsorship and the event attendance. We saw that $20 million was generated in gate receipts for the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight. So we know this is $150-160 million fight. We know that it makes sense to Netflix to do it because in the last fight that they had with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, they developed 2 million new subscribers. The average lifetime value of a subscriber is $900. So if you look at that and say they're going to generate $2 billion in potential increased revenues as a result of paying these fighters £100 million, you can see the metrics of it. They're also retaining their base. They're also moving content into a different space, which is sport. So it all makes sense. It's like the mobile phone industry I knew very well. Used to sell phones for nothing so people could get the airtime, and the airtime was where the money is. The content delivery is where the subscribers go to, and then they pay their subscription. So we all understand the model. As far as the fight is concerned, oh no, don't be silly. I mean, Anthony Joshua can go in his nightgown and beat Jake Paul. The issue is, does he hurt Jake Paul? How curated it is? I debated it with boxers, with Paul Smith and Duke McKenzie and Spencer about would Joshua going in with a mindset, which is he knows he doesn't have to get out of second gear, so he doesn't have to do to Jake Paul what people fear he might do, which is knock him into the next life.
He goes to Jake Paul. The cojones this motherfucker has, from a Disney kid to YouTube to he can fight anyone and get views and make fucking money. This crazy wild boy sends out the bat signal, the British bat signal for Anthony motherfucking Joshua. You know how crazy that is? I will say this. I don't think any of Jake Paul's fights are fixed in any capacity. At all. Not even close. I don't get down that narrative. Again, I know online that's a fun narrative, all that shit. I will say this though. My spidey senses will go off if Anthony Joshua doesn't absolutely mop the floor with him. Now, kudos to Jake for taking this fight. My God, dude, you are a brave young man. You deserve every cent for that fight. My word, dude, there's so much respect. So much respect. He worked so hard at the craft. That's amazing. Kudos to you. Here's the reality. Anthony Joshua is a gold medalist in the Olympics. He's a multiple-time world champion. He's fought the best of the best. He's not really over the hill either. If Jake Paul was just another boxer with his resume and his experience, you know, he's about a mid-blue belt. If we're giving you belts like jiu-jitsu, he's probably a blue belt, fighting in main events and all this stuff. If this fight isn't an absolute domination by Anthony Joshua, my spidey senses will go off. Now, that's not to say that I'm not saying Jake Paul has any language in the contract. There's no foul play whatsoever on Jake Paul's part. My skeptical hippo eyes or my spidey senses will come off that Anthony Joshua's not taking this real and he's not putting his best performance forward.
Wildest part of this entire matchup is the strategy behind it. Because if Jake Paul somehow drags Anthony Joshua into the later rounds, the pressure could start shifting in his favor. Jake is younger, lighter, quicker, and far less predictable. Throwing awkward punches and using unusual angles instead of moving like a traditional heavyweight, Joshua is clearly the superior boxer in every technical category. But Jake is relying on chaos, non-stop movement, conditioning, timing, and that right hand he believes can hurt anyone if it lands clean. Many analysts are calling this one of the biggest risks any modern fighter has taken, since Jake went from facing a much smaller opponent to challenging a full-sized former heavyweight champion. A leap that is nearly unheard of, and exactly why the world cannot look away. Jake Paul is not playing it safe. He is aiming directly at the elite to prove he deserves to be mentioned alongside real fighters. This matchup brings back a level of unpredictability boxing rarely sees anymore. Maybe Anthony Joshua dominates him. Maybe Jake survives and shocks everyone. Or maybe he lands something unexpected. Nobody truly knows. And that uncertainty is why people like Joe Rogan, Floyd Mayweather, and every major analyst are watching with real interest. Because no matter how anyone feels about Jake Paul, this is the biggest, boldest, and most dangerous challenge of his career. And the world will be talking about it for years, regardless of the outcome.